morning, my friends. I am Pastor Ben Hayes from First Baptist Church, Dadeville, Alabama, bringing you our thought for the day on a thankful Thursday. What are you thankful for? I'm thankful for my Savior. I'm thankful for my family. I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful for this opportunity to spend some time in the Word. And I'm thankful for the Apostle Paul. In 1 Corinthians chapter 9, picking up in verse 17, he says, "For if I do this willingly, I have a reward." He's talking about preaching the gospel. Because remember, he's talking about that he and Barnabas have every right to be paid for ministry, like Peter and James and all these other apostles that are out there proclaiming that they have the right to bring their wives along with them as they go out on mission trips. And he says, "But I've not asked you to pay me anything." He says, "I preach the gospel free of charge because I don't want anybody to say that I'm doing it for the money." All right. So he says, "If I do this willingly, preaching the gospel, I have a reward. But if against my will, I've been entrusted with a stewardship." Now, understand, preaching the gospel is a stewardship. Stewardship from God. God gives that to us as he calls us to serve in positions of ministry. For Paul, it was missionary to the Gentiles. He proclaimed to the Jews, to anybody that would listen. For us, it is to go into all the world and make disciples. So, verse 18, what is my reward then? That when I preach the gospel, I may present the gospel of Christ without charge, that I may not abuse my authority in the gospel. Now remember, Paul has spent a good part of this chapter proving why churches should take care of their pastors. They should pay them for the ministry so that they can focus their time, their efforts on doing the work that God has called them to do. But he says, I have chosen not to do that. That principle. I don't want to offend anybody. I don't want to cause anyone to stumble. I don't want anybody to be able to say that, hey, Paul's only doing this because he wants what we can give him. All right? Paul says, I do it without charge so that I may not abuse my authority in the gospel. Now look what he says, verse 19. "For though I am free from all men, I have made myself a servant to all, that I might win the more. To the Jews I became as a Jew, that I might win Jews. To those who are under the law, as under the law, that I might win those who are under the law." Now, he goes on and he says, to those who are without law, as without law, not being without law toward God, but under law toward Christ, that I might win those who are without law. Now, understand, Paul's not saying I become a sinner so that I can help sinners get saved. He's already a sinner. All of us have sinned and come short of the glory of God. He's not saying I join in their sinful behavior, their sinful actions, their sinful attitudes. He says, I choose to enter into this stewardship of preaching with the knowledge that I have to meet people where they are. I mean, for example, can you imagine a pastor going into a preschool and preaching the gospel to them like he would a group of theologians? It wouldn't work, would it? Or to go into a French-speaking congregation and only speak English to them. It wouldn't work. You have to relate to the people. So Paul says, I've made myself a servant to all that I might win the more. Serving them to bring them to the gospel. To the Jews, I become like a Jew. To those who are under the law, as if I'm under the law. To those who are outside of the law, as if I am outside of the law. Not that I want to break the law or do unlawful things, but under law toward Christ, that I might win those who are without law. See, we have to meet them where they are. Show them the way of the gospel. Show them the way to Christ, and let God do the rest. Paul says, to the weak I became as weak, that I might win the weak. I have become all things to all men, that I might by all means save some. Think about this. What are you willing to do to reach your community with the gospel of Jesus Christ? Are you willing to go to them and meet them where they are? To meet them in the midst of their discouragement, to meet them in the midst of their frustration, to meet them in the midst of their ignorance. Paul says, I do this for the gospel's sake, that I may be partaker of it with you. Joining in this effort together to win the world to Jesus, to make disciples in all the world. Think about that. What are you willing to do? Be blessed. I'll see you back here tomorrow.